Welcome back to the channel, and I'm Cullen, if you guys don't already know me, and this is going to be my 2004 Honda S2000. The 2004 is going to mean that it's an AP2, so the AP2 is going to have the 2.2 liter and the motor that revs out to 8 instead of revs out to 9, so like on the AP1. So all your 04s to 09s are going to be AP2s. And obviously my car has the Jays Racing Type GT wide body on it, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So starting with my own personal story, I've liked cars ever since I was young, which is something that's very common with a lot of car enthusiasts, but at the same time it's not. So that's why we're kind of just sharing everyone's little individual story, so we get kind of more information on why people like the cars that they do. Maybe it's an influence from their dad or from their friends or from someone in their later years. And so my story started when ever since I could remember. So my dad's always been a big car guy. He's always been a big car enthusiast, and he's been telling me about cars ever since I was young. And so from a very young point, an early point in my life, I had toy cars all the time, which, for example, like Mark, Mark was the same way. And so the top three most memorable cars for me would be the Honda NSX, your Toyota Supra, so the Mark IV, and then the Dodge Viper, so the first generation. So those were the three toy cars that, for as long as I can remember, I've had, and I probably still have them to this day. I could probably go home to my parents and find those out and dig them out from the old toy boxes. And so moving forward, in my later years, where those cars weren't really exotic. So the one exotic that really kind of got me, obviously besides your Ferraris and your Lamborghinis, was going to be the Pagani Zonda. Saw that car on the cover of a Hong Kong car magazine, and that was that. I knew that car since it came out, basically. So it kind of grew up with me. Obviously the first year for the Zonda was 1999, I believe, and I was at the time 5. So maybe it was pretty early on that I could, remember cars and car brands and car models. And also another supercar or hypercar that I kind of liked a lot was the Bugatti Veyron. So the Bugatti Veyron was, at that time it was the first car to have that W16 and so on and so forth. And my dad at one point wanted to name me Bugatti. And so that's kind of why the people around here at ZR, they kind of gave me a name for, they call me Bugatti because I told them that story, amongst the many other names that I was going to possibly be named. And then, okay, besides those, we go into a later point in my life where I started taking photos. So photography was also a hobby of my dad's. He still likes to take photos these days, but obviously on the phone, doesn't really use a camera anymore. But at that time, I had been using his little point and shoot to take photos at RTC, and this and that. So I was one of those kids at RTC. But granted, it was very early on. It was some of the first RTCs that were occurring. But at that time, they were already pretty big. So I think it was 2010, 2011 maybe. And then after that, my friend Kung, we're still friends today. He's one of my high school friends and longtime life friends. And he kind of got me into photography as well. And with that, he sold me a Canon XTI, which had like 10.1 megapixels or something. And I went home and took my dad's lens off his old Canon EOS film camera, put that on, and started shooting away. And that was kind of the point where Instagram was just starting up, and Instagram wasn't as, didn't have as many features as it did today, and didn't have as many large influencers and pages and all that kind of thing going on at the time. And I was taking photos, posting them, met up with a lot of local owners, whether it was, I didn't shoot as many supercars back in the day as I do now. I shot more JDM and modified things. Just basically modified cars are more of my niche. I like things that are different from the standard one. That kind of set you apart from everyone else. So which is kind of self-explanatory towards why my S2000 looks the way it is. And then through photography, that kind of garnered me some, I wouldn't call it fame, but I really can't find a better word for it right now. So Insta fame or Instagram fame or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of the bigger car pages were reposting my photos. Was it Blacklist, Cars Without Limits? Those pages at the time were pretty big. And then at one point, Super Street, and I did a couple of shoots for Super Street. And But now, 5-6 years later, where I didn't really keep going, didn't really keep pushing, maybe that's kind of gone downhill, because obviously now there's so many talented photographers out there that do better than I do, take better photos than I do. So, it is what it is. That's how it is with everything in life. Someone's always going to be better than you. Little off track there, but now moving on to the next part was when, I first got to drive an S2000. Or well, let's go with when I first learned to drive manual. So I didn't learn how to drive manual until I was probably 17. And I didn't really know, I wasn't really allowed to drive and get my driver's license at 16 because during that time period was when I had to have scoliosis back surgery. So I was cut open, strained my spine, titanium rods, and put me together. And that's a long story, but I have titanium in my back. So as car guys, we definitely love titanium. So and that's just another interesting part about me. And then, I learned how to drive manual because my brother-in-law at the time had a Civic, I think it was an early 2000s Civic. It was a coupe. Let me have that for a week, and went out, drove it every day, went across Lake Washington Boulevard, where Seward Park is, that kind of area. Just drove that loop over and over until I learned how to heel toe, until I learned how to rev match downshift. So that was the first car that got me into driving manual. And then after that, he let me drive his CR, which he purchased back in, I think it was 2010 or 2011. So it's going to be that Apex Blue Pearl CR that I reviewed here. And that car kind of, I didn't like Hondas back then. I thought Hondas were for rice boys. All the stupid negativity that comes with, this Honda brand thing, which is in some light true, and at the same time, there's obviously a lot of well-built and done-up Hondas. But that's kind of how it is with any car that is cheap and easily attainable to the younger crowd, where, at everyone's point in life where they're learning and they don't really know what they're doing yet. From there, from that car, from that S2000, that was when I fell in love with S2000s. And after a while, I purchased an MR2, and we had traded that car for the Amuse, and then now we're here to the J's, which was a Voltex car. And, I really learned a lot through the Amuse. The Amuse was the first car that I did a lot of trial and error with. I learned how to take bumpers on and off. I learned how to swap wheels. I learned how, tire machines work. Learn how to change brake pads, change your oil, everything, basically. How to cut the body, how to refit body panels. Basically, most of your easily done stuff I kind of learned on that car. So that's why that car was kind of, in a sense, ruined by me. It wasn't the best or well put together. And at the time, I really wanted the Amuse canards too, so I just went to Home Depot or Lowe's and bought some sheet metal, cut me some canards, and L-bracketed that stuff onto the bumper, and that was that. And then later on, I bought the Voltex World Time Attack canards and cut that up, put it on, made a splitter. Other little things like taking in and out a seat, steering wheel, how to replace a shifter, how to replace tail lights, hardtop, how to install a wing. I basically learned everything on the first S2000. So actually, I'm very grateful for that car. That car taught me a lot, but if you haven't, me and that car we weren't really meant to be together. So if you watch the video on what happened to that car, that's really going to explain everything once again. And so now, onto this car. This is going to be my 2004 AP2 that I've had since, I believe, December of 2017. So that was the point where I wasn't really sure if I was buying the car yet, and Howard was just letting me drive it around. And then I forgot what month that I officially had purchased the car, and then started moving stuff over, started modding it. So this car is way more well put together than I would say the old one, and that's simply because of all the experience that I've gained, and I've a little bit older, so a little bit more responsible driving wise. And then at the same time, I also moved out to Bellevue, so I didn't really have to drive in Seattle as much. So with the old Amuse, I actually went and delivered food in that car, did Uber Eats. I did a lot of things with that car, so that car is really fun, thinking back about it. But now, this car's, for the most part, the front lip is the one that I beat up the most, and I've had a blowout in this car. And this car's vinyl wrapped. This car's not original paint. So I mean, really onto this car a little bit is, so this car has a Type GT wide body from Jay's Racing. So this was the kit off of Luigi's old S2000. So Luigi's car is going to be the one that was going to be painted a Lambo gray. So you can still kind of see the coloring in the front over there. That part's hasn't been wrapped over because it's kind of hard to wrap. And then it has a Saban Mugen style front hood. So that I was partially sponsored from Saban. And so it's kind of one of the only remaining replica parts that are still left on my car here now. That's something that I need to get rid of, but obviously kind of want to focus a little bit more on life. I'm pretty content with how the car looks for now, but granted, there's still a long list of things that I want to do. Probably at least 25,000 in mods that I want to do. And we're going to have the Advan GTs here. So these Advan GTs, I believe, are going to be 18 by 10.5 plus 25 or 22. I can't remember the exact offset. I'm not running a spacer in the front, but I am running a 15 mil spacer in the rear, because this kit is a lot wider than the old one. And obviously, for all wide bodies, you have to cut it unless you want to ride 4x4, unless you want to rub through your tire. This is just something that's kind of common sense. And if you guys don't really know it, and you guys are just learning about cars, here's kind of a start on some of these things. So there's no fender liners, there's no anything covering up the headlight in the back, and I drive it as is every day, rain or shine, snow, everything. So motor-wise, the car is going to be relatively stock. It's going to have headers and exhaust. And the exhaust is going to be a Jay's Racing 70RS that we cut in half in a German auto house. So Dima had custom welded the rear half for me so that it would fit with the Type GT bumper. Because as you know, with the Type GT wide body, the regular exhausts don't fit. And then on the Muse, you had two options for if you wanted a bumper exit or if you wanted the lower exit on that kit. And then this car has Bride Zeta 2s or Zeta 3s on the inside, Schroth harness. I believe it's an RSG roll cage, OOP steering wheel with works belt, quick release, and short hub. And then it has the European European floor mats, the Voltex Type 7 swan neck, and then a Mugen style hardtop. I don't think I'm going to change that out because the real Mugen hardtop is super expensive. I'm not going to front. And I'm probably going to mess it up, taking it on and off. I've scratched this thing I don't know how many times already. Saban trunk, that's oxidizing, and then a replica K1 Lab wing, so that's replica as well. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with replica parts, but I don't prefer them. But that was obviously purchased at a point in time in my life where I didn't have as much money to purchase the authentic thing, and I wanted it to finish up that part, which probably wasn't the smartest decision, but I did it. In life, you mess up, you learn. And then on the back, I kept the OEM AP2 taillights because I felt that was the most fitting style with this kit. And I wrapped the rear on this car gloss black. So I had a black front on the Muse at some point. And then I saw my friend's car in Australia and I was like, okay, why not? Let's wrap the rear in black. And I did that. And then some of the carbon parts that are from my old car are going to be the hood, your hardtop, your mirrors, your wing, and then your trunk. Those are from my old car. Everything else is going to be completely different. So this kit was actually used. Like I said, it was off of Luigi's car, so I purchased it at a rather cheap price from Eric Mercado down in NorCal. And I bugged him for a long time, probably about a year before he decided to sell me the kit. Originally, the kit was meant for the Muse, but then the AP2 happened, and my life's a mess, and here we are now. So basically, this car also has some, a lot of mods done to it, because Howard had actually built the car as a track car. So at the time, I remember when he first purchased it, we're looking at, what the best suspension mods were, this and that. So this car has JRZ RS Pro 2s. So now it's on RS Pro 3s. I mean, it's not on this car, but I mean, there's the new one, which is going to be three-way, I think, 3 or 4 multi-way, more than I can adjust at least. And so I had JRZs on my old car as well. It's just the brand of suspension that I'm not sponsored by them, but I do recommend them. They are worth the money if you want to street and track your car, or if it's just strictly a track car. Brakes, I had Alcons, but the Paget pads had eaten through the rotor and somehow it snapped on the inside. So I got to rebuild the caliper because piston plus rotor is not a good thing for your seals and for your piston, obviously. Anyways, this car has been with me for, I think about, a year, 2 years now. So I still enjoy driving it every single day, except, the two-way LSD makes it a little bit rough, and so does the Hyper Single. It's not the easiest to daily drive, but when you're moving, it's, I enjoy driving cars that are difficult, but I might be getting old. I'm turning 25 next month, So I'm still trying to figure out my life and figure out what kind of things I want to do. And so some other minor mods on this car. The wrap. So this car originally was white, the body kit was gray, and then I had Antone over at EM Wraps wrap the kit for me, wrapped it in an Avery red. So it's kind of orangey. And so my old S2000 wasn't red either, it was also repainted. So I've never had an actual red S2000 in my life. But that's really irrelevant if it's going to be a car that you're going to keep for the rest of your life, which I believe this one is going to be. Originally I thought it was going to be the Muse, but obviously that didn't work out. So it's kind of like relationships. Oh, you think this next girl is going to be the one, that forever girl, the one that you're going to marry and spend the rest of your life with? No, I'm going to tell you for a fact that's not how it works. And if it does work out for you, then that's absolutely great. Congratulations, I'm very happy for you. But a lot of people like to switch cars very often as well. But one thing that I've been really focused on lately is going to be forever cars. Cars that are worth keeping for your lifetime. And why I really haven't purchased another car yet is really because I don't know what I want yet, and I don't have another goal to work towards yet, because there's multiple options that what I think is a forever car, but you never know until you actually own the car. Even if you drive it, even if you take it home, even if your friends let you borrow it for a couple of days, you still don't know until it's yours, until you have to face all the issues, all the problems, and look at things about purchasing. So to end my story time, which is not so much about the car as more so the story, which is the purpose. So to end off this video, I'm going to explain the purpose of Storytime, this series. This series is going to be to focus on the person's story, the individual story, more so than the car itself. Granted, some people have very great stories with their cars, which is something there's nothing wrong with that. We'll do that as well if that's what means the most to the person. But, individuals behind the car, behind the build, what influenced those people to become who they are, what struggles they've been through life. And so that's kind of the focus of the series, because it's, people's stories. Cars themselves are inanimate objects. Without the person behind them, the people who created them, this thing wouldn't exist. Just like all the passion and stuff put inside the S2000, the NSX, all the cars we love so much today, there are, amazing people behind them that designed them and made them. And so, I hope that this channel, this series can be something that you guys can learn from, whether you're the same age as me, you're older than me, you're younger than me. There's always things to be learned. And one very important thing that I've learned in my life so far, something that I keep very dear to my heart, is that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Especially, you guys seeing me being around all these exotic cars, my S2000, wearing the clothes I wear, doing the things I do, these things don't necessarily make me truly happy, and I might still be in a very dark place in my mind, in my head, consistent thoughts that are going through and through. But even if you've known me, obviously some people know that this thought of suicide continuously goes on, but I can guarantee you and assure you that it's not going to happen, because that's not something that's a possibility for me. But I know there are certain people out in this world that are smiling every single day, but they have things going on in their life that, it makes them feel like it's the end of the world. But, sometimes you can talk to people, actually not sometimes. You can talk with anyone, you can talk with me, we're all here in this world together. So there's nothing that can stop you from doing anything. Money might make you happy. If that's what makes you happy, truly happy, then go for it. Go make all the money in the world. Money's just sitting around us in this world. It's just how to go and, acquire that. But, true happiness is something that everyone's looking to find. Some people don't know what they want to do with their life. Some people don't know they don't know what they're going to be doing in 10 years, what they want to be doing now, what they want to be doing tomorrow, what they want to be doing at all. So I hope through this channel, and if you're a car person, that we can kind of grow together and figure out, what is it that we want to do. And maybe in 2 or 3 years, you guys are watching me on this screen right now, but who knows, maybe we don't know each other now, but we can become great friends down the road. And sometimes that's the beauty of the internet. You can make great friends through, through this thing called the internet, you've never seen this person, but you can talk with them, become close friends. You know, I'm also human at the end of the day, so sometimes there's going to be a lot of messages that I can't respond to, I don't respond to, I'm not in a good mood. But, you know, if you guys are ever have anything you really want to talk about with someone, maybe that's not personal to you, talk with me. You know, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing to be ashamed of in this world, because that's how life goes. You know, we're human at the end of the day. So, you know, as much as I can help, I'll try. And I just hope that through this Storytime series that we'll be able to grow together as people, you know, not so much as internet famous or whatever people want to think that I am. At the end of the day, I'm human. I'm a nobody. Being, you know, having 24,000 followers on Instagram doesn't mean that I'm better than you. You could be way more talented than me. There's a lot of talented people who are doing better, bigger things than me that don't have this following. So followings on Instagram don't mean anything. Money at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. Money comes and goes. So I hope, you know, you guys enjoyed this little backstory once again about me and my car, me and my life, me and how I got into cars, what got me started to, you know, gaining this Instagram fame or this clout, which I really don't care about. You know, I just want to be doing the things I love, doing the things that, you know, I enjoy doing, which at the same time doesn't really make me happy. So it's kind of contradictory, but hopefully I can figure it out. But anyways, to end this video, I think we'll end it on that note. It might be kind of a moody note, but it's just something that I want to put out there because these are things that I'm constantly thinking about. So this is a video channel. This is a channel that kind of documents what I see, what I go through, the people I meet, and I hope you guys can, you know, learn something from it and take something from it. And we will see you guys on the next video. If you guys, obviously the very cliche part comes now here. So subscribe here in the center on the face, and then watch these 2 videos or whatever, especially if you have questions about my car. Yeah, bye-bye.